So today's topic is intercellular communication or cell to cell communication. We know that human body composed of billion of cells having distinct functions. Via many mediators, their functions are regulated very tightly and they are very integrated. And those mediators can be neurotransmitters, growth factors, chemical messenger, which regulate metabolism, and many more, right? So this video provide overview of how cell communicate with each other. So for ease of understanding, we have divided this video in three parts in which first of all we see that all over our body, one cell, how it come in contact with surrounding cell or distant cells. What are the means of communications, right? Second thing we'll see that what are the receptors on different cells, because if one cell release some signaling molecules, how that signal molecule act on some receptors. So for that understanding we should know what are various type of receptors in our body, right? Then the third thing is, if signaling molecule that bind to some receptor, what happens next? So what are the signal transduction pathways via which various cells or of our body they basically perform various functions, right? So starting with the mechanisms of cell communication, or we can say how cell come in contact with other cells. So the first type is contact dependent. Contact dependent mean a cell which communicate with other cell via some signaling molecule obviously, but it physically come in contact with that cell, right? For example, you must have heard that if antigen come in our body, there are antigen presenting cell. If the antigen crosses a physical membrane, physical barrier of our body, then there are further antigen presenting cell in our body which present that antigen to T cell, right? So as you can see in the image that there is a cell which is presenting some signaling molecule to other cell. So here signaling molecule can be antigen for antigen presenting cell, and that's how the T cell recognize this is foreign to our body and then it act accordingly. This is how our immunity occur, right? Then second type is paracrine communication. Now what is paracrine communication is, if one cell, it's not physically in contact with other cell, but the cells are located nearby. The cells are located in the local environment of the cell, and how it come in, so it's not physically but it's release some signaling molecules which act on via some receptors, they act on other cells and respectively they play some role for some functions, right? For example, if we talk about gastric epithelium, then there are, in gastric pits there are various cells, right? So there are enterochromaffin cells which secrete histamine, and there are parietal cells which secrete HCl, right? So enterochromaffin cells, which is nearby parietal cell, so enterochromaffin cell release histamine, which act on parietal cell and via histamine receptor, and it increase or stimulate HCl production, gastric acid production, right? So this is example of paracrine cell. Coming next, third is autocrine communication. What is autocrine communication? Basically, a cell release signaling molecule and it act on either self or same type of cell, right? So as you can see, the cell is releasing some molecule and those here it's hormone, they are acting on same cell, right? And it further stimulates something, it either activate the same type of cell. If you see example of autocrine communication is, there are T cell which when activated for first time, for example, we have seen that antigen presenting cell they stimulate T cell, ultimately they present antigen and hereby the T cells are stimulated. Now those T cells release a molecule so that other T cells can be activated for better immune response, right? Then is next is synaptic communication. So obviously we can't leave synaptic communication here, because if we talk about any stimulation, for example a pinprick occur on my finger, right? How my brain knows this? Obviously there is synaptic communication in between, right? What is synaptic communication is, for example, any stimulation on our periphery, so there are nerves which take that signal and the signal transmitted to various neurons via, right? right? Then those neurons go either directly on brain or various synapses again occur and the signal is transmitted to brain. And that's why if a pin prick occur on my finger, that's why the pain, the perception occur in my brain, right? And again, if I have to do some motor activity, for example withdrawal reflex, I have to withdraw my finger from pin, the response is occurred by from brain also via same synaptic communication. The response goes to effector organ, for example finger, right? So then fifth is endocrine communication. Now what endocrine communication is? Endocrine communication is a cell which is capable of secreting some substances into blood, that is endocrine, right? For example pituitary gland is secreted some hormone, for example growth hormone. Now it synthesize growth hormone and the growth hormone is secreted into blood, right? Then growth hormone is obviously not working nearby pituitary, right? So blood, it's spread throughout our body, and wherever GH is necessary, growth hormone is necessary, for example liver, so it enters liver cells and then it stimulate some protein synthesis, which is work of growth hormone, right? So various functions of our cells are ultimately mediated by these five type of cell communication. Now, now we know how cell come in contact with each other, but how? So obviously they release some signaling molecules, right? Now these signaling molecule acts on some receptors. Now why we are reading these receptors types? Because receptors, it can be lipid soluble, it can be water soluble, right? And we know, we have seen that our membrane is lipid soluble, so lipid soluble can cross easily. So for example for a signaling molecule which is lipid soluble, right, so there is no need of receptor on membrane. If it's water soluble, the receptor should be on membrane, right? Because it can't cross the membrane. That's why, depending on that lipid solubility, the receptors are located either on membrane or in cytoplasm or nuclear receptor on nuclear membrane, right? So because depending on this types, there are four broad classification of receptors, which is ligand gated ion channels, G protein coupled receptors, enzyme linked receptors, nuclear receptors. So all our body, there are four type of receptors via which signaling molecules they act and perform different functions. Now let's see how these receptors comes into play. So first is ligand gated ion channel. So we have seen in ion channel in last videos that how ligand gated. So ligand is nothing but any substance which can bind to some receptor, and although that receptor is somehow specific for that ligand, right? So ligand gated ion channel, so ligand bind to some receptor site or some channel, and binding of ligand leads to opening of that channel or closing of that channel. That is ligand gated ion channels, right? So if we talk about ion channels which are ligand gated, it's not necessary that these ligand will bind from extracellular site. It may happen that various ligand bind on intracellular site also, which control the channels, whether it the ligand can open the channel or some ligand will close the channel. There are various examples in our body in which, for example, acetylcholine bind to nicotinic acetylcholine receptors and lead to opening of that channel when we talk about neuromuscular junction. But there are various various potassium channel, which when cyclic AMP bind intracellularly, then it leads to closure of that channel. So there are various examples, right? So that is called ligand gated ion channel. Then the second is G protein coupled receptors. What is G protein coupled receptor? So G protein coupled receptor is largest family of receptors on cell surface. It consists of single polypeptide chain with 7 membrane spanning segment. 7 membrane spanning means the, so it have a polypeptide chain which is crossing the membrane 7 times, right? As you can see, this is the 7 this 7 time it's crossing the membrane, right? 1 2 3, so it's labeled at 1 2 3. Why 1 2 3? Because depending on that number, this protein is having different functions. For example, if we talk about, so there is an extracellular domain, there is intracellular domain, and depending on those domain, they have different functions. You must have seen some structure of any channel. So there is extracellular domain, which mostly it can act as a ligand binding site. Okay, there are intracellular domain which act as either in channels, it act as a pore forming, right? Some act as voltage sensors. So here this intracellular domain act as GTP binding site, right? Here ligand bind on extracellular site, the basic idea, right? So there is extracellular domain which is ligand binding site, and so intracellularly there are different proteins, different amino acids are present. Those amino acids are they exist in various combinations of three subunits, basically alpha, beta, and gamma. These three subunits are very important for this G protein coupled receptor. How? Because these normally these are in complex form. This A, alpha, beta, and gamma. You can see, right? So whenever GDP, guanine diphosphate, when it's bound to this alpha unit, right? So this is alpha unit. So when GDP is bound to this, now GDP is bound to this, it will be inactive. It can't perform anything, right? When signaling molecule or any ligand, it bind to this G protein, what happen is this G protein coupled receptor, this alpha, beta, gamma subunit become active, and because of that GDP is released. Now GDP is released, GTP bound. If GTP bind to this alpha subunit, right? It's very clear, right? So ligand binding lead to activation of this complex. Activation, what does mean is GTP released and GTP bind, right? Now alpha GTP, what happens is this is the active role playing structure, alpha GTP complex. What happens is this alpha GTP, it bind to some enzyme present in membrane nearby. Okay, don't worry, we'll see in detail that what is happening here, but basic that this is any enzyme, right? So alpha enzyme and to this enzyme, and it is activated. Now what this enzyme does is, we'll see in later slides, that any enzyme in transmembrane, what can be role played by these enzymes, and there are various cascade of reaction downstream. So those are called downstream signaling. So here we are talking about only receptors. So in next slides we'll see what is signal transduction, what is role of these enzyme further, right? So for understanding is on ligand binding, GTP on ligand binding, GTP binding occur, and GTP binding lead to alpha GTP dissociation, and that will further activate some enzyme. So that is GPCR, protein coupled receptors, right? Then next is enzyme linked receptor. Now what's that enzyme linked receptor is basically a catalytic portion which is transmembrane. It is coupled with some ligand binding site. Normally it's inactive, it's not playing any role, but if a ligand bind to, if a signaling molecule or ligand bind to this, it ultimately form one complex. So previously it was in dissociative form, and when signaling molecule come, it form a compact structure which lead to activated enzyme. And obviously this activated enzyme will activate many enzymes downstream signaling occur, and ultimately some role, some functions are being played, right? So that we'll see, don't worry about that. Okay, so this is enzyme linked receptor. Then the fourth and last form of are nuclear receptor. As I said, then there are lipid soluble substances which can cross the membrane, they don't need any receptor on membrane, right? So those can cross easily, and obviously then the receptor will be either in cytoplasm or here on nuclear membrane, right? For example, if you see thyroid hormones, right? Aldosterone, androgens, they act via nuclear receptors. And most of the mechanism in our body act via G protein coupled receptors. If we see enzyme linked, then growth hormone act via enzyme linked receptor, right? So if you see nuclear receptor, what happens is steroid hormone, for example, steroid we are talking about, right? Steroid hormone crosses the membrane, plasma membrane easily, and here are some receptors which either on cytoplasm or nuclear receptors. They bind to them, and this ligand receptor complex will stimulate some gene formation, gene transcription, and there is formation of some proteins ultimately. These form will activate some other form of protein which are secondary response element. So primarily some protein, secondarily some proteins are formed. Why I am saying this? Because in our body there are various examples in which one ligand binding lead to some substance formation which is responsible for many substance formation. If you see example of this type of receptor is, we can take uh, in hypoxia condition there are various changes in our body, right? So when hypoxia occurs, so ligand will be decreased oxygen supply, right? So decreased oxygen concentration lead to some other downstream signaling. So ultimately one form of gene is formed that is called hypoxia induced gene. This is primary, and hypoxia induced gene will form different gene like erythropoietin is formed so that increased RBC production can be occur, right? There are various tyrosine kinase pathway. There are various other proteins are formed which have different functions. For example, carotid body is stimulated via this so that it can be the sensitivity can be increased. Okay, so there are various genes with one gene is forming different functions in our body, and those are secondary response proteins. Okay, so till now we have discussed that there are various receptors which have obviously their specific downstream signaling, specific ligand, right? Now let's have a brief idea about signal transduction. So signal transduction, what is signal transduction? This is very important topic, and if you want more videos on signal transduction, because this is very good topic, if you want a detailed video you can comment below. So just have a brief idea about signal transduction is, for example, a signal molecule. So we have seen till here that signal molecule comes and it binds to some receptor. Till here we have talked about, right? Now what happened next? So this is called transduction. What is transduction? Is signal any message. Transduction, which is nothing but conversion of one form of energy into other, or one form of signal into other signal. Here what is signal? For example, ligand is a signal, right? This is a signaling molecule which is having some form of message, right? Then what is receptor? Receptor is nothing but it convert one form of message into other form of message. That is called transducer. Receptors are signal transducers, right? So this, then signaling molecule bind and the receptor is signal transducer which ultimately activates some other enzymes or channels, right? Which, so these are various messengers downstream intracellularly. There are various messengers which take part ultimately. So these messenger can be secondary messengers. There are various secondary messenger. Primary messenger is here and secondary messenger is here. So receptor is, extracellular receptor is basically primary messenger, and then ultimately downstream various enzymes which take part. They, and various for example, calcium is secondary messenger, cyclic AMP is secondary messenger, cyclic GMP is secondary messenger. So those secondary messenger takes part ultimately what happened, there are some target proteins which are formed. Now depending on those target proteins various functions are achieved. How? For example, any binding occur and the downstream pathway lead to some formation of transport protein. So then transport is affected. If transport protein are affected, then the transport across cell membrane is affected, right? And obviously that is very important for all our body functioning, right? Then second is if any enzyme is affected, some enzymes are formed which will alter metabolism, right? Some genes are formed which will alter other gene expression. Some cytoskeleton proteins are formed which are obviously responsible for shape of cell and movement, right? Integrity of any membrane or epithelium, we can say. Cell cycle proteins are formed which are necessary for growth and division. So any ligand binding which lead to different functions. So all over our body how cell play different function is via signal transduction pathways. Okay, and we have seen four type of receptors. So four type of receptor have specific signal transduction pathway depending on, as you have seen that I have given example. So nuclear are via nuclear receptors. For example, thyroid hormone, steroid hormone, they act via nuclear receptors, right? So this is very necessary to know the receptors so that we can know the signal transduction pathway also, right? Even GPCR, G protein coupled receptors, all over body, most of the mechanisms occur via GPCR. But even within GPCR also there are various types of GPCR which are responsible for sometime stimulation of the mechanism, sometime inhibition of the mechanisms. So to make you understand signal transduction, let us just take one example to have a brief idea how this G protein act on membrane and how the downstream pathway occur. If we talk about GPCR, right, there are basic three type of GPCR. One is G stimulatory type. So this uh, G protein, which is having a transmembrane, 7 transmembrane segments having ligand binding site, 3 subunit, 3 amino acid segment, alpha, beta, and gamma, right? This is basic structure of GPCR, right? Here we are talking about G protein acting via phospholipase. Here we are talking about this pathway. This is also called phospholipase pathway. G protein can be via various other pathways also. For example, GS type, G stimulatory type means the ultimate downstream signaling is stimulated, but the second messenger is cyclic AMP there. So that's why it was called cyclic AMP pathway. There are some pathway which G protein is inhibiting cyclic AMP, so that is called GI type. Here we are talking about GQ type. GQ, this is acting via phospholipase. Here second messenger is IP3, right? So just to have idea what is signal transduction, I am giving you the basics of phospholipase pathway, right? So let us see what happens basically in signal transduction is. So I have explained this is G protein and these are the alpha beta subunit, alpha beta gamma subunit, right? Okay. So ultimately when ligand bind, it become active. What does that mean? So GTP is released and GTP bind. Okay. So GTP and alpha complex, which is an active form, it bind to some enzyme. So here phospholipase pathway, the enzyme is phospholipase C. From where these enzymes come? These enzymes are present in transmembrane. So these are nothing but in lipid bilayer. There are some protein embedded which act at some channel. So intracellular, this is not integral, right? So this peripheral protein is phospholipase C. There are various protein also. This is other protein here, PIP2, which is phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate. Now, what happens is alpha GTP complex, it bind to phospholipase C and it activate phospholipase C, right? Now, phospholipase C, what is work of phospholipase C is it break PIP2, phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate. It break this complex into two things. One is DAG, diacylglycerol, and other is inositol triphosphate. So this complex, this protein is break down into DAG and IP3. Okay. Now this IP3 will bind on some channels on endoplasmic reticulum, which are nothing but calcium channels. So binding of IP3 on calcium channels lead to opening of calcium channel and higher concentration in endoplasmic reticulum. The calcium flows to outside. Fine. So ultimately what happened? Binding of a signaling molecule activate phospholipase C. Phospholipase C will break some molecule to IP3. IP3 act on some channel and intracellular calcium concentration increase. Then what is work of this thing? DAG. So this diacylglycerol have different functions. What it does is it synthesis, it under activates some protein kinase. This is a other enzyme which is being activated by DAG. Now this protein kinase, what it does is it increase calcium concentration by opening other calcium channel. So have you seen this signal transduction, that G protein, how it acts is any ligand, I mean not any ligand but specific ligand bind to this and it ultimately activates some enzyme. Then further that enzyme activate either release some molecules or activate other channels. So what is role ultimately is either changing the permeability of some channels, or obviously intracellular also release some molecule which further change the permeability of some channel, right? And if you see nuclear receptors, then there are some gene formation, some protein formation. If we take example of phospholipase pathway, then we can see if adrenaline bind here, right? Adrenal bind here, and it will lead to increased calcium concentration in myocardium. Increased calcium concentration lead to increased myocardium contractility. Contractility, that means sympathetic stimulation, lead to increased force of contraction in myocardium or cardiac tissue, right? So there are various examples you can see in detailed structure. This is just one example I have given to make you a basic idea of what is signal transduction. So if you want a detailed view of signal transduction, because if we have seen 4 type of receptors, we can see uh, in detail all 4 type of receptors have various signaling molecules, have various signaling transduction pathways we should know, and this is very important topic. So if you want more very detailed view of signal transduction, please comment below. Apart from this, so this is all about cell to cell communication, the various receptor types and various signal transduction pathways. Okay, thanks for watching, and please comment if you have any type of query. Okay, happy learning.